game in politics. The game in politics is to get a government. What's the role of the government? To work for the people. If we look at the two sides, one side is participating in what we call street politics. The side of government, if President Ruto speaks, anaongea nini? Anasema, we want to do this, we want to do this. Hiyo pande ingine.
Lakini kwa upande wa serikali lazima afanye kazi.
No, haijakuwa hivyo from now. That has been Ruto, we know. Hata ndio achaguriwe, alikuja na hasra narrative, bottom up. Him has been what we will do. Lakini
hata hivyo,
yes,
hayo maneno alikuwa anayazungumza akiwa wapi? Wakati kwa mfano alikuwa naibu wa rais.
Alikuwa deputy president. Yes. But then he was not saying what they are doing at that time. He was crafting his ascendance to power through tutafanya, not tutatoa. Because I think there is a very big problem we have as a country, such that kwa sasa ukiniuliza, sijaona mtu abaye anafit kuwa rais.
Apart from William Ruto. Kwa nchi nzima.
As at now. We have in the future, maybe they will come kutoka 2032 huko, because the main protagonist of opposition, if you reason to them clearly, they speak of the past. And I will take for example the leader of DCP. From hata wakitafuta kiti, akikuja hapa, majani chai, kahawa. Whereas the economy has shifted.
To what?
Now, if you look at the statistics, current Kenya, 50% is service driven. Agriculture is at 20% and dropping because the economy is growing. And you know, with agriculture, you cannot raise too much because the factors that are required to do farming, they are constant. Kama ni ardhi, if we have 1 million acres, it's 1 million acres. We can improve a little bit, but not so much. If we want to grow our country, we look at the areas where the world is going.
Lakini serikali pia imekuwa ikizungumzia mambo ya ukulima.
Yeah, it has, but then look at how President Ruto talks of agriculture. He talks of 2 million acres under irrigation. He talks of subsidized fertilizer to help those farmers who are already in farming. But if that one in his speech, it comes hapo nyuma. Because let me tell you a damning fact. Currently, only 30% of Kenyans live in towns.
According to?
Those are the statistics.
From which report? From which survey?
Even if you Google, the percentage of Kenyans living in urban centers. Whereas in developed countries, 80% of its populace lives in urban centers. William Ruto has seen that. That's why we are having many projects revolving around urbanizing our nation, because it's being predicted by 2032, about 50% of the population will be living in towns. Now, I hear sometimes people make noise, amesema ataweka superhighway Thika Road. As I was coming here, I had to leave my car somewhere and take a motorbike because there is already a big traffic jam on a foreign highway. Why not make a superhighway, an expressway from Thika to join the expressway? Those are the thoughts that are a mix of present moving into future.
Tutazungumzia hayo na nafikiri tutapata wakati wa kuzungumzia hayo.
Yes.
Lakini unaposema ya kwamba Rais William Ruto amekuwa akizungumzia maneno ama mambo tofauti, upinzani nao umekuwa ukizungumzia mambo tofauti, ni nani ana wajibu wa kuweza kutekeleza hayo mambo ambayo yanazungumzwa?
The president.
It is the president.
Yes.
So what is the mistake about the opposition speaking about the issues?
You see, the opposition are not speaking about issues. That's my problem. If they were speaking about issues, we would sit down and say, the opposition are saying they will do this. The president is doing this. Which one is better? But then, oppositions are not giving us anything they will do. They are not giving us a solution of the very many things they are raising. So
usemi huo Bwana Karanja,
yes,
unaweza kusupport namna gani?
Yes.
Because I hear them talk about for example SHA and the challenges around it. I hear them talk about education and the challenges around it. I'm sure you could be aware that we have issues with even grade 10 transition. So why would you say that the opposition do not speak about issues?
Let me tell you, Mr. Kimani, the issues that, when you talk of transition of grade 10, this government has employed more teachers than have ever been employed by a single government. I think the biggest recruitment of teachers was 20,000 teachers at a go by President Ruto to take care of the transition of grade 9-10. Currently, high schools in Kenya have the highest number of teachers, despite them having just 3 classes. You know, initially they were from 1 to from 4. Now we have grade 10, 11, 12. But the number of teachers are more currently than they were then.
Are you aware, Bwana Karanja,
Yeah.
are you aware that we have challenges with even not having 100% transition? That is number one. Are you also aware that the grade 10 students do not have even a textbook in some regions?
Yeah, that one is understandable. It's transition. We have seen what, since the passing of Constitution, the problems the former president had, transitioning from the then Constitution. We don't expect a smooth transition, 100% from this system of education to the next. But to be frank and to be fair, the president has tried. He has invested employing 100,000 teachers. That one alone means education is being given the investment it requires. It's just streamlining one point here and there. But on that one, we must be very fair. Yeah.
All right. Of course, there are other issues that
You've talked about SHA.
Yeah, and other issues that have been raised by the opposition, including issues to do with the human rights. I'm sure you are within when Senator Sifuna was talking about how the government has been violating the human rights of Kenyans. What would you have to say about that?
Yeah, I will say this, and I will start with which is very unfortunate, deaths in Mandamanos in our country. But then, is it a President Ruto's issue? That is the issue of us Kenyans, because extrajudicial killings during Mandamanos has been there since Mzee Kenyatta, Daniel Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru, and then Ruto.
But Bwana Karanja, you can't make that kind of an argument. Who has the responsibility to make sure that...
I'm coming there.
Yeah, who has the responsibility to protect Kenyans?
It's the president. But then it seems our systems, the way we do our things as Kenyans, that one, if we put it on President Ruto, we will not get a cure.
Who is responsible for the systems you are talking about?
You see, the systems, it's all of us. The president is just a caretaker.
Given the mandate,
by the Kenyans.
And so who should be responsible?
Yes, he should be responsible. But then, I want to bring this to you. It is something that has happened across. All presidents have had those claims of extrajudicial killing in Mandamanos, yes. So, do we look at President Ruto and crucify him on that?
So, are you trying to justify the deaths that have occurred out of extrajudicial?
I'm not justifying. It's very regrettable, and it should never happen in a democratic country. But then, how do we cure that? By crucifying the president, or rethinking how we do our things, and say, this has been happening since independence. Let's put it to a stop correctively, not pointing a finger to the president.
So, if we were to go your direction, at what point should that happen, given the history that President William Ruto has been in power for 3 years now, And these killings have been happening, and they are still happening even as recent as the meeting that happened in Kitengela. So at what point should we expect the changes then?
Okay, I will not talk about the deaths in Kitengela because sometimes I put myself in the shoes of law enforcers. Sometimes when we have a crowd of 10,000 people, then you expect, even if a bullet will not hit one, maybe there will be stampede. So the organizers...
Was there any?
There was no. But then I'm saying I cannot talk about when you have crowd control issues. It's an issue all over the world. During Maandamanos, you cannot control really 100%. But the president, I know he's trying.
There's you knowing, with all due respect, Bwana Karanja.
Yes.
And there is the perception with Kenyans. Kenyans believe that possibly a majority of them,
yes,
that there is something that is not being done right. So if you as Karanja knows that the president is trying, why is that message not being delivered to mwananchi?
Mr. Kimani, you know, in the past, the results of Maandamano have been attained when people die. So when you put blame on the president 100%, you'll be unfair. Because even the people who organize those Maandamanos know if there is no death, we will not get what we want. And most of the times, the results of Maandamano are some people getting power. So as long as we blame President Ruto 100%, we must also look in, do you want power through Maandamanos? And the way to get power through Maandamanos is to have some few deaths so that there is outrage and the president softens his heart and he gives you some a bit of power, which everybody wants.
All right. Yeah. Wacha tukaweza kuzungumzia swala lingine. Kunaonekana ni kana kwamba Rais William Ruto anajaribu kutafuta ushawishi hasa katika eneo la Mount Kenya kwa kutumia miradi. Sijui kama unakubaliana na maoni kama hayo ambayo yanatolewa na wananchi.
You know, the government has to deliver the miradi, whether it's during campaign time or not. I'll give you an example. There is a road called Mau Mau Road. It has been ongoing in bits even after President Ruto was elected. There is, for instance, a loop between that in Kangema, Rwadia. It was done immediately the president was elected. There was no elections in sight, but it was still done. So we cannot link 100% the ongoing projects, development projects in Mount Kenya to politics.
To what extent can we do that? To what percentage?
20.
But there has been very heavy focus and investment in Mount Kenya, especially in the recent days. We have individuals who we can see visiting Mount Kenya every now and then, talking about projects here, projects there. What is the whole intention about this conversation to do with projects and politics?
I am part of that team that goes to the ground. And we realized there is a big gap between what is being talked about in political areas and what is happening on the ground. I'll give you an example. When the vaccination program for ruminants was rolled out by the president, you could hear some opposition politicians saying it's, I don't know, sijui sidano ya kunyamba, sijui such things. And then I am here, I know the truth. When I go out to tell the people, no, we are trying to fight foot and mouth disease, that is ni kizingiti kikubwa sana cha when we can't export many things when we have such a disease, it's a barrier to trade. When inaenda kufanya siasa, when I tell people, when I try to kukosoa ile uongo inaenezwa, I tell, no, I know it has been said this way, but that's not the position. This is the way. Hiyo ni siasa kweli.
Lakini utakubaliana nami kwamba after the what you are calling the rumors came up, the government went silent. Why did the government go silent about the whole issue?
Yeah, it went silent because its intention is to vaccinate animals. When the politicians take over, then there is a possibility it will not be achieved. And the government wants to achieve. So it just changed tact. It involves us, the professionals, met with the veterinary professionals and paraprofessionals, explained what's going on, and now we are rolling out the vaccination program, and in a way that it will be acceptable to farmers. Yes.
So when is it going to be rolled out?
It's been rolled out in many counties. Other counties are still advertising for the vaccinators, agripreneurs, and it's ongoing. And it's going on very well. And it's a very good project. Yeah.
There sounds like there's a contradiction in how you are putting things. At one point you are saying that you are going to talk to wananchi so that you can help them understand what the government has been doing. At another point you are saying the government went silent because there was misinformation. So why would the government go silent instead of, trying to put things in the correct way?
No, the government went silent, but we did not. Us as the policymakers and the executioners of those projects. It's only that it's not in media, morning, noon, and night. But there's conversation with the farmers, with the professionals. So it's an ongoing conversation. Only that we decided now, when politicians say this, we decided hatutawajibu. Let's go to the farmers, explain to them what we are doing, and the project is being rolled out, and it will help farmers. Yeah.
But looking at it holistically, when we are talking about, say, development, messaging and everything around that, what does it mean if you are still trying to, go to wananchi and try to convince them that this is what we have done? Do you have really to convince people that this is what you have done, yet they would be seeing everything that you are talking about?
I'll tell you one thing, especially in Mount Kenya. We have a very big problem of emotional politics. And emotional politics is what blinds people. Once we start emotional politics, people are blinded, they don't see. For instance, when we talk of SHA, those people who have had patients know that SHA is working. The only people who have doubts of SHA is those who have not had a need. Those people who have had a need of SHA know that it's working.
But Bwana Kuria, there are people who have gone to hospitals with the same need and SHA has not worked. What do you say of that?
You see, SHA is a social health insurance fund. Let me talk of that. And it's meant for the general population. So what SHA will not do, SHA will not pay for Panadol 1,000. Those people who go to a hospital inauza Panadol 1,000, they will complain that SHA is not working. Those patients will go to Murang'a Level 5 Hospital. Those patients will go to Kenyatta National Hospital, where services are priced at normal prices. They will tell you SHA is working. You don't expect you go to Nairobi Hospital, SHA could be a kitanda for 20,000 a day. That one will not happen.
Have you had complaints about cancer patients? And just trying to align the conversation with the SHA.
Currently, let me tell you, I have a cancer patient, and I know SHA is working. I've not reached. I know the PS for Public Health. I've never called her to tell her no. No. Just the normal process. And it pays. As long as you go to government hospitals, SHA works.
But that's a patient that you know. The others who have even demonstrated and say that they are facing it rough when it comes to payments.
I know it has a limit, but now it has been raised to about 800,000, 900,000. But sometimes cancer is, sometimes it requires more money than that. So it's still a work in progress, but for the basic health care, it works. Out of 10 people who have cancer, maybe one will have complications and pesa inaisha mapema, but it's working for the general population. Yeah.
All right, I'm advised that our time is up. Nitakupatia wakati huu ili ya kwamba ukaweze kutoa maneno yako ya mwisho, kisha tutasikia kutoka kwa Brian Amoy.
Maoni yangu ya mwisho ni kwa Wakenya. Tuache siasa za emotions. Let's look things, the bigger picture. The president talks of Singapore. Let's realize what is Singapore. We are talking of having our country being ranked a developed country. What happens in developed countries? What is the president doing towards that? Because once you want to go to Nairobi, once you want to go to Mombasa and you are here, hutaenda na hiyo suti sababu joto ukifika huko itakuumiza. Utajitayarisha, utafute kinyasa, utafute vest. That's what the president is doing. He is preparing us to a life in a developed country. Yeah.
All right. Asante sana Bwana Kuria, na nafikiri tutapata wakati mwingine wa kuzungumza mambo haya kwa kina. Na tunashukuru sana mpenzi mtazamaji kwamba umekuwa pamoja nasi tangu tulipoanza mida ya saa 12 asubuhi hadi wakati huu ambapo tunaelekea tamati. Na wakati huu ni vizuri kwamba Brian, tumekuwa na kwa mara ya kwanza tumekuwa na wewe hapa kwenye kipindi hiki. Maneno yako sijui ni yapi ya mwisho, na kumekuwa na maneno mengi ambayo yamezungumzwa. Senator Sifuna amezungumza, tumekuwa na Bwana Karanja hapa. Hapo awali tulikuwa na Bwana Babu. Maneno ni mengi yanayoendelea katika ulingo wa kisiasa.
Yeah. Kweli tumeweza kuzungumzia mambo kadhaa, Oscar, vile umevyosema ni tu mustakabali wa taifa, mambo gani ambayo yanaendelea katika taifa la Kenya. Mazungumzo na Senator wa Nairobi Edwin Sifuna, tumeweza kuwa tuna pia pale awali mwanzo tulipoanza kipindi tulikuwa na Ken Babu tukiangazia mambo ya United Opposition na kila mambo yote ambayo yanaendelea katika taifa hili la Kenya. Sasa of course tunamalizia kipindi hapa tukisema ni shukran sana. Nimeona mgeni wetu akisema kwamba safari ni ya Singapore, but sasa the question was Singapore with corruption, I don't think they go hand in hand. They say we're doing everything right to make sure that we actually get there. But if we don't fight the biggest thing that is, a menace in this particular country, and that has to do with graft, because there's been close, proper indications that we are not very intentional when it comes to fighting corruption in this particular country. So I don't know if Singapore remains a pipe dream. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, so thank you so much for being part of this production all the way from 6 a.m. to this particular moment. It has been live on Kameme TV and of course K24 TV. We are also on Milele, and of course during Sifuna's interview we are also on Kameme FM. It has been an honor and a pleasure to do this with you today. I think we get to do this again when God says we do. My name is Brian Amoy.
Jina langu ni Kimani Ngunjiri, na uwe na siku njema.
Kameme TV, Muthegi wa Rũrĩrĩ.